I invite Acting Director Professor S. Srivastava to come to the stage and inaugurate this symposium. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. I, on my personal behalf and also on behalf of Institute, extend a very hearty welcome to this one-day symposium on challenges in chemical engineering in honor of our two very respected faculty members, Professor Anil Kumar and Professor Santosh Gupta. They have more than about 40 years of association as faculty member in this institute. So I express my gratitude and respect to both of them. Now we have very eminent personalities who are going to share their experiences and views in frontiers of chemical engineering. To name them, Professor M.M. Sharma, who is possibly the most renowned chemical engineer, not only within the country, but across the world. I think almost all of us know the name of Professor M.M. Sharma if you have not met. So he's here, and he has guided the chemical industry in general on several fronts. We also have the former director of UDCT, Professor Joshi is here. And then we have three very eminent academicians who also have been very successful administrator in the IIT system. I see them as one of the ideal personalities in the administration of IIT system. Professor Anand, who was former director of IIT Madras, Professor Mishra, who was former director of IIT Bombay, and the present director of IIT Bombay, Professor Khakkar, Devang Khakkar. We also have very eminent researcher and outstanding academician, Professor Gandhi from IC Bangalore. So I request all of you to join me in welcoming all of them to this symposium. I also welcome the family members of our faculty colleagues, our students, the faculty members from other departments, and the staff members who are present on this occasion. Now, friends, I have a strong association with chemical engineering because I started my career in a company who was doing consultancy for chemical process industries. I was in Engineers India Limited from 76 to 88. So I have seen some of the chemical plants coming up in this country during that stage and getting associated in its design and the commissioning of the projects. So we used to interact with chemical engineers and other disciplines very intentionally during those periods. Now, chemical engineering at IIT Kanpur, we always feel pride, is one of the topmost institutions, topmost department in the country, and it is one of the oldest with which the IIT system started. Now, in my personal view, the chemical engineering has a very strong position, having interface between molecular science and engineering, and it spans the interaction with all disciplines of sciences as well as the other fields of engineering, whether it is electrical, whether it is mechanical, or civil engineering, or aeronautical. You take any one of them, it has some form of interaction and interface. Now, apart from the conventional areas which chemical engineering has already seen growing, both in terms of technology development and also end use of the products, such as your chemical and petrochemical processes, your food industry, textile industry, and many others, there are many new areas which involves multidisciplinary research which are coming up, which includes your alternate energy, and the environment is one strong area. We have a research center in the campus where we have a very strong component from chemical engineering faculty who are participating. In fact, the head of that center is the head of chemical engineering who is sitting here, and also in the field of security or environment and many other fields which are coming up. There are many exciting research and developments taking place in chemical area. My knowledge is very limited, and we have a very strong group on micro and the nano structures which is evolving new generation of materials, whether it is composite polymer or ceramic material, which are finding applications in development of new generation of devices and processes. So the field is very exciting. It is going to be highly disciplinary, interdisciplinary in nature, and it is a lot of work has to be done in not only serving the chemical industry, but the society in general, because it has enormous end-use applications, various domestic applications. So I'm sure that with the experiences and views shared by the eminent personalities who are present here in the symposium will immensely help all of us in understanding the challenge in chemical engineering and associated field in general. I would like to congratulate Department of Chemical Engineering in organizing this very important workshop. I would rate it as one of the most important events in this year we have organized so far in the honor of our two respected faculty, and wish it a grand success. Thank you very much.
Professor Srivastava, Deepak Kunjru, I come here to pay tributes to two great academics, Santosh and Anil, whom I've had the pleasure of knowing ever since they joined as faculty member. IIT Kanpur is a great place, and I always enjoyed my visits to IIT all the way right from 1965 till today. When I was approached to be here on that, I think Ashutosh would remember that instantaneously I accepted the invitation, because it's a pleasure to pay tributes to fellow academics who have been so loyal to the institution. I'll say something more later when the felicitation function goes.
It's my pleasure and privilege to be the chairman of this session and to be associated with this event honoring Santosh and Anil, their contributions. Santosh and Anil are two of the colleagues whom I've learned a lot from. Santosh was the HOD who made me the offer when I came here. And what I really liked was, both of them, the hard work, the kind of affection they had for the department, the academic interests they had. And those are things which I really picked up during my stay here. To me, I have a lot of respect for both of them. And as far as I'm concerned, they led by example. And that's one thing which I learned, and I'm trying to do that.
Good morning, my dear friends. I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to come here and participate in this great function. It looks like Anil and Santosh joined only yesterday, but it's remarkable to think they have come to retirement. And what is more remarkable, I must be older than them, must be really growing old. If you look at Anil, there's one thing that will strike you is the determination he has got. You will always see it on his face. Now, of course, a little rounded with age, but otherwise you can discern that even now. Another thing about Santosh, now I don't see, he and his Jhola were inseparable. Now, there's a secret in the Jhola. The Jhola, whatever you told him, what about this problem here, what about something here, it was written on a piece of paper. I went to the Jhola. Huh? I keep Jhola, but I will go tell you why this Jhola is important for Santosh. He went at night, emptied all those slips, categorized them, stapled them. Super organization was the symbol of Santosh. Now, when they joined, they looked very, very different. But they are also very equal. So I was always wondering, what is this thing? They're very, very different in everything, but they are equal in every respect. So then I found out the secret. One day Santosh told me, in those days, faculty members slogged a little bit in summer. their wives had to take children to grandparents and so on and so forth. All this they did. So when the wives went, these two fellows had to cook together and eat. Okay. Then Santosh told me, whatever was cooked, they divided into equal halves and ate, So that gave my answer. I like to say something about their contributions. They have made many, many contributions, and it'll take me a whole lot of time to describe them. But I'll mention 3 of them, which I think made an indelible impact on the department. One was their great commitment to quantification. I'll have to explain this point to you. When I joined, the era was full of closed form analytical solutions, cute little equations, and then cute little tricks and so on. But they made a great commitment to numerical results. For me, people like me who were in that era of the cuteness, cow became a homogeneous isotropic sphere. Okay, but for them, numerical results were important. So Na going to An, where A stood for an armed chemical, was not a polymerization for them. This meant they must take every detail into account. And all the complexities have to be accounted for. They made a fantastic decision to commit themselves to computers. That was the thing they did for the department a great way. If there's a discussion in the institute about computer facilities to be created, they were there. Ask for more time, more powerful computers, better software, and all this they brought to our department. What this means is, whatever may be the polymer, polypropylene, polyethylene, nylon, polyesters, phenolics, and whatever you have, there's not a single polymer on which they have not written a paper, and anybody who's doing research today cannot bypass those. The second thing I want to tell you is about their commitment to productivity. It's not that we did not want to publish, everybody wants to publish, but they had this great commitment to productivity. Professor P.T.N. gave a lecture in our institute once, and he said, Raman used to say to his students, work, finish, and publish. And there was a great emphasis on this publication, and all of us also want to publish. It was not that we didn't want, but this great commitment to publishing came from these people. The result is, there was not a single department, engineering department in our institute, which could match our department in academic activity. And they brought IIT Kanpur in the chemical engineering worlds of research on the worldwide map. The third thing I like to mention is the welding of UG force, and make them an ally of research. In those days, we were everybody looking for a particular type of graduate student, and they were hard to come by. But they hit upon this idea, why don't we take undergraduates and weld them? Now, all of us know, since we were also undergraduates, though you might not believe, we were also an undergraduate at one time. Undergraduates have a particular character. They are lone rangers. They want to do something which nobody else has done before and do it all by themselves, and next fellow wants to come, he wants to do something entirely different. It has an experience, it's a discovery process. It's like a lone race. But they taught them the beauty of a relay race. Relay race also challenging. So they had batches, sometimes 3 successive years, where they formulate a problem, finish the results, and publish them. And this was a great achievement, because undergraduates to weld them into a team and use them as a force for research is a great thing, which only they started here. All these 3 things, I think, are contributions they made to this department. They left a great impact on this department. I think I go to colleges where they say there are no PG students. I always give example of Anil and Santosh. So here's something which you can do. These are things which they can look back upon, retire nicely. I know they won't retire. They'll not work as hard as they've been working. They'll continue to do so. But I congratulate them on the stupendous achievements with great appreciation and affection for them. I wish them all the best in their retired life.
My Guru, Professor Sharma, Santosh, Anil, and my dear friends. First of all, I thank the organizers, and they have arranged the program nicely. According to the original program, the first 4 speakers were superannuated. speakers. And they were to tell both Anil and Santosh that how pleasing is the period after retirement. Then felicitation function, where they will hear something by which they will get an opportunity to forget what they heard in the last 40 years. Finally, the stars of today, Devang and Ashutosh, and they will say that be comfortable, we are here to continue.
My association with both Professor Anil Kumar and Professor Santosh Gupta has been long, at least more than 25 years. I first met Santosh in UMass, and he encouraged me, in fact, to apply to IIT Kanpur, which I did. And then when I got a position here and joined here, I got a chance to start interacting with Anil. For me, both have been really models, and Professor Gandhi really said almost everything I wanted to say, that in terms of almost all aspects of what a young academic should do was embodied in them. I in fact used Santosh's book for the first fluid mechanics course I taught, so I got to know him in another way through that. And of course, both of them worked together in an area which was of great interest to me, polymer reaction engineering. And there is an incredible body of work that they generated, and that culminated finally in a very important textbook on step growth polymerization, which is very widely referred to. I think, they had initially a very strong focus on numerical simulations, on theory, and over time they diversified into doing some really fine experiments. I remember many discussions with Anil on the very amazing catalysts that he was developing, and I was thesis examiner for at least 3 of Professor Santosh Gupta's PhD students, and I got a very great insight into the kind of experimental and theoretical work that was done to look at the reaction engineering, thermodynamics, and control of some very difficult polymerization reactors. I'm particularly happy that Santosh spent 2 years at IIT Bombay as well. He had a great impact on our department in many different ways. I remember his he used to urge all of us that we should try and get papers from MTech thesis, which is not really a practice so far at IIT Bombay. And also in terms of invited lectures, I'm very glad that I'm very grateful to him for all the efforts that he put in to establish the Karthik Killer Memorial Lecture, which is now sort of well established. Both Santosh and Anil have made a big impact on chemical engineering research and education in the country. They have been outstanding teachers, very committed to teaching. They have written textbooks which are widely used. They have, of course, been extremely productive researchers, and they have been very good mentors. And it's heartening that many of their students are now themselves in the teaching profession. And I'm sure that these students will also take all the traditions that they learned with their mentors forward. So I'd like to pay tribute today to all their achievements. And I know that they all both look very young, and I'm sure that they will continue to be very active in the days to come.
So first a disclaimer, I am not part of the organizing committee for this session. So I am also very thankful to the organizing committee for the pleasure of saying good things about my gurus and friends. So now how does a guru and friend, they go together? It's like somebody said, on whose shoulders we stand, on whose feet we sit. Now, if you think about it, I mean, if you want to do it simultaneously, this and that is highly unstable. Very, very hard to attain that position, be here and there at the same time. So, but anyway, life is the art of impossible. And so anyway, I'm very, very thankful to both of them, Santosh and Anil, for being great inspiration, being great teachers. And thinking about Santosh and Anil, I just remembered when C.N.R. Rao asked me, when I joined IIT Kanpur, I joined in 1977. He left in 76. So he didn't teach me Chem 101, which was a brilliantly taught course by him to all the new coming students. So then he said, aha, that's why you are half a chemist, because he didn't teach me. Now, it so happened that I also didn't take any course from Santosh, right? And that would explain why I'm only half a chemical engineer, right? So what would explain the other half chemical engineering that I have? That must be because I took 3 courses with Anil. So the first one was in controls. The second one, maybe you can guess, advanced control. And the third one you can guess, really easy. No. Challenges in controls. I was happy to be successful in meeting those challenges. The other day, so when I still remember very vividly, I come out of a lecture, I see Anil staring into infinity. So I was a little bit curious. I say, oh, what's happening? He says, I am very old. He was all of 33 years old at that time. So I didn't believe him then, and if he repeats the same thing, I wouldn't believe him now. In fact, Santosh and Anil are the most young people that I have seen, and I'm sure that they would continue to be like that.
I stayed in the campus from 1986 to 1997. All these are my teachers, and I grew up in front of them and among these great teachers and motivators, Professor Gupta and Professor Anil Kumar. I'm really honored to be present in their felicitation ceremony. Now, there are 2 eminent speakers in this session, and Professor Dr. B.D. Kulkarni could not come because of illness. So he sent an email message and would like to be read out here. So I read out that. I would have very much liked to be present, personally present, and offer my felicitations and best wishes to both Professor S.K. Gupta and Anil Kumar. However, due to some difficulties, I could not come, and hence this note. I came and joined the Chemical Engineering Division at NCL in the year 1973 with an objective to pursue my PhD at NCL. These were the difficult years when, due to lack of means of communication, travel constraint, unavailability of information and meeting people, it was impossible to know within the country the work of different people. The only means was the search small font chemical abstracts, ask for reprint of the work, study it, know who is doing what. Alongside, during the search, you could not also notice people working in adjoining areas as well. Noteworthy names from IIT Kanpur were Santosh K. Gupta, Anil Kumar, K. S. Gandhi, R. D. Srivastava, D. N. Saraf, etc. Clearly, other than the big names known that time, Professor M.M.S., LKD, Professor Kumar, G.S. Ladha, etc., these were the new names emerging as the next generation of chemical engineers who subsequently have influenced the profession. Thus, I know Professor Santosh Gupta and Anil Kumar since 1976, although I personally met them several years later. Professor S.K. Gupta was a visiting professor at Notre Dame in 1987, and I discovered it in 1988 when I was a faculty there as a visiting professor. I was amazed by the goodwill he created there, and I came to know more about him from the faculty there than I knew it in India. SKG has a magnetic personality. You discover it when you meet him in person. He not only knows and calls the colleague by their first name, but he also knows all their families by first name. He establishes an unbreakable bond with all around him and places everyone at ease, a great human quality. All of us are aware of the significant scientific contributions he has made to the profession and efforts he took in shaping the present department at IIT Kanpur. I will not say anything more on this. On this occasion of his superannuation, I would like to join all of you in wishing him a good, healthy, and peaceful time ahead. Of course, we will keep in touch with him. As regards Professor Anil Kumar, I knew much less except he is a very solid, consolidated person with outstanding abilities. I met him personally in February 2010, although I know him through his work for the last 25 years. The personal meeting with him confirmed that he is an outright, outspoken person who tells the truth on the face with remarkable courage. Notwithstanding an open person at heart, one cannot but like and admire him. I offer my felicitations on him, on his superannuation, and wish him all the best. B.T. Kulkarni.
Professor Ashok Mishra is the chairman, India of Intellectual Ventures, and located in Bangalore. Prior to this, he was at the IIT Bombay as director from 2000 to 2008. At IIT Delhi from 1977 to 2000, and before that at Monsanto Chemical Company from 1974 to 77. He obtained his BTech at IIT Kanpur, MS at Tufts University, and PhD at the University of Massachusetts. He was awarded the Doctor of Science by Thapar University, Patiala. He's a fellow of National Academy of Sciences in India and was its president from 2006 to 2008, and a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering. He is the founder president of the Polymer Processing Academy and the former president of the Society of Polymer Science India. One more paragraph. Professor Mishra is a member board of directors of Reliance Industries Limited, board of directors of Jubilant Industries Limited, board of governors of IIT Delhi, board of advisors, Aditya Birla Private Equity. He has received several awards, and very briefly they include Distinguished Service Award from IIT Delhi, Chemtech CEW Awards Education, National Systems Gold Medal, Quimpro Platinum Standard Award Education, Distinguished Alumnus Award from IIT Kanpur, University of Massachusetts, and Tufts University, and Distinguished Service Award from the Polymer Processing Society. He has co-authored a book, has 6 patents, and published over 150 international publications. He was also a classmate of both Professors Anil Kumar and Santosh Gupta during their BTech days at IIT Kanpur. We feel that he's the best person to coordinate this felicitation ceremony today. So please.
Thank you so much. So I start with this picture where we were all class fellows, and it's up for you to recognize who's where. That's me, I know where I am. So, Santosh is there, and Anil is there, and Deepak is there, and all others are there. Sorry? Point them out. This is Zamirul Haq, who's here in the audience, and Santosh is where? This is Anil. Anil is there, and Kujru kahan pe hai? Santosh is here. That's Santosh, right? And Kujru, this is Deepak, no? Right. Okay. Not bad, huh? All right. So it's absolutely a pleasure to be here on this very important and momentous occasion where 2 of my very dear class fellows, Santosh Gupta and Anil Kumar, will be superannuating from IIT Kanpur. So they spent a lot of time in IIT. 5 years as students, and Anil joined in 72, Santosh joined in 73, so another 39 and 40 years. So a major chunk of their life they've spent in IIT campus. We were all together, and both of them we had different, I had different associations. Anil, name starts with A, I was Ashok, name starts with A. So the sections those days were based from the first letter, not the second letter, no, not the surname, first letter of the first name. So Anil would be part of the same section in which this, the classes were taught. Santosh was in the same block, so A2 block of Hostel 1. So Santosh was in the corridor. Now, who was more important to me? Santosh, because when you did the assignments at night and so on, and you had to submit them in the morning, proximity was of absolute importance. And being in the same block, you had that access. Anil, on the other hand, we would do experiments together, and you know how the experiments are. It's a joint effort. All the students know. It's a huge joint effort. Somebody does something else. You turn the knob the right. Your partner comes and turns it in the opposite direction, and somehow you have to produce a report the next day with results which sound like, as if they are all authentic results. So this is a collaboration that we learned at IIT, that how to collaborate and make sure that everything sounds very good and so on. So 3 years went by this way. Then came chemical engineering, and all three of us ended up in chemical engineering along with the others who were there. Anil was the original, he was in chemical engineering. Whereas Santosh was in mechanical engineering and he shifted to chemical engineering. And I was in electrical engineering and I shifted to chemical engineering. So there were two reasons to shift. One was that chemical engineering professors those days, C.V. Sheshadri, Vasudev, Gopala Rao, they're all very exciting people. And that sort of attracted us to them because they were very friendly to students. We used to know Sheshadri playing hockey on the hockey fields and so on and so forth. And of course, as Professor Sharma pointed out in the morning, that chemical engineering is a very important field. And one of the persons who impressed upon me, my father used to be at Bhilai Steel Plant, and the person who was the chief chemical engineer, he pointed out how important chemical engineering was going to be and influenced me to change. So therefore, that was quite exciting. Now the good and the bad part. You said, okay, now we are in chemical engineering, probably less competition than in mechanical because all the toppers are there. JE number 1, Santosh Gupta, JE number 2, JE number 3, they're all there. And now you're in chemical engineering, thoda sa relief milega. But then Santosh Gupta also shifted to chemical engineering. So the bar was obviously raised in chemical engineering. But again, the good part was this collaboration of homework and assignments and all that. That also moved to the 4th year, and that was very helpful to all of us. Now, having said this, let me talk about a little bit individually. Anil and I had a lot of interactions through, as I said, assignments and so on. Both of us were involved in a number of things at IIT Kanpur. One of the things which is probably lesser known, we gave him a special name. We don't know how that name came about, but I will not repeat it. But that was a link, to understand each other. And he came back. He was the first one. He went to Carnegie Mellon for his PhD. He was the first one to come back to teach at IIT Kanpur. Also worked in the area of polymers. I don't know which one of us was first attracted to polymers, but I was very clear from the 4th year onwards that polymers is a field which excited me and I'd go into it. So therefore, with that collaboration and the interactions stayed. I came back much later in '77 and he was established here. And by that time, 5 years. One of his early students, Ashok Khanna, who was also an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, I was his thesis examiner. Probably if I recall correctly, my first stab at being a doctoral thesis examiner, and thanks to, again, this collaboration worked because he would put my name for his PhD students as an examiner, I'd put his name for my PhD students. So this sort of thing goes on, so this was, but then the problem obviously is that the number of people working in the area of polymers was quite less, and one had to interact. Every time I came and stepped into his office and talked about things, there was the enthusiasm with which Anil would pose new problems were just fantastic, very innovative way and so on. I remember he was working on pan mein katha dalte hain na, so he was working on synthetic katha at one time. Very exciting, the way he was approaching it. Then he was working on composite materials which would be bulletproof and so on and so forth. If you ask me to stand behind that composite, I will not stand. But the army accepted it, that's another matter. And then recently, very exciting work that he's doing is recycling of polyethylene, degrading it, not degrading, but breaking down the chains into wax and so on. And some patents he has got. And yesterday I was talking with him, and he was saying that after finishing at IIT Kanpur, his tenure, he would start a company and work in that area. A very exciting area to work with because, again, as Professor Sharma pointed out, polymers are going to be there. One of the major things which the world uses, but then disposal of polymers and so on is quite important. And if he works in this area, it will be very good. One of the traits about Anil is that he's very frank about saying whatever comes to his mind and very straightforward and so on. And yesterday, very, very clearly he told us, Professor Sharma was also there, that only mediocres make good administrators, mediocre people. So I got the message that both Santosh and Anil had better grades than me. So I guess I was the more mediocre one, but that's all right. That's very good. So this is the informal part, and I'll read the formal written material on Anil as part of his citation, and I'll talk a little about Santosh. Can we have some lights, sir? Be helpful. And there are some details that I was going to give, but then I'll just read them out. Professor Anil Kumar obtained his BTech degree with IIT Kanpur in 1968, went on to complete his PhD from Carnegie Mellon University. In 1972, he joined IIT Kanpur in the same year as a lecturer and became full professor in 1980. He spent several semesters as a visiting professor at University of Wisconsin at Madison. Professor Anil Kumar's PhD thesis was experimental in nature, and he has continued to do experimental work for a significant part of his career, which I also enumerated a little bit. All the computational work he has pursued was directed towards explaining the observations of the experiments that he did. Very tough to explain his experiment, by the way. But if you can put equations to them, it's nice. He has defined all research activities around realistic problems such as a consequence. He has been able to define several new processes and devices, and the most important has been the depolymerization of HDP, which is the latest, ways to convert them into microcrystalline wax. In order to complete this work, his group has streamlined the process as well as the downstream technology of final product development. In addition, he has also made significant progress in electrochemical devices such as fuel cells, batteries, chloroalkali processes, and so on. All this research has resulted in 200 research papers, 70 master's theses, and 14 PhD theses. Even though Anil Kumar has taught almost all UG and PG courses and some core level courses, he has had longer association with courses in polymer science and engineering, chemical design and controls, science and technology for drugs. And during the last 20 years of his career at IIT Kanpur, his teaching interest reflects the emphasis he has placed in the development of new materials. His research and teaching interest has resulted in publication of 5 major books and with several editions. Several of them have several editions. He is also the recipient of the Hardile Award of the Indian Institute of Chemical Engineers for excellence in basic research in chemical engineering, and is elected fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, India. Professor Anil Kumar. I'll just say a few things about Santosh now. We were very fortunate to have JE number 1, and I think JE number 3 also was on the same corridor, so it became a high-powered corridor. A2 section. And he went on to become a gold medalist with an average of 9.999, basically all A grades except for 2 courses. And my claim to fame was that in one of the courses in which he didn't get A grade, I got an A grade. So we were together then for 3 years, and then this friendship, of course, continued into chemical engineering, and we had lots of things that we could share and, of course, learn from each other and so on. One of the things that I taught him, of course, he taught me a lot of equations and so on, but one of the things which I taught him was table tennis. I don't know if he recalls, and he was, very studious, a little shy about because learning table tennis and as a learner and so on. So we would go after 11 o'clock, after all the homework assignments and all were out of the way, and nobody was playing table tennis, and he would play table tennis, and I think he has kept it up a little bit. Then he went to University of Philadelphia, I went to UMass, not very far from each other, and we did meet often there. He was working with Professor Forsman, I was in the polymer science department of Amherst, and of course one knew about Forsman's work and so on. It was very nice to also meet Professor Forsman when I was there. Again, his interest in polymers came from IIT Kanpur, and that's why he chose to go to UPenn. There he was one of the earlier ones to get married, so we had met Shubhra there at Philadelphia. I could not track the photographs that we took at that time, which would be very nice to have shown, but unfortunately I don't have them. And then he came back again to IIT after doing a postdoctoral in 1973. Again, we had a chance to work together in certain areas and at least discuss a lot of things, no collaborative work in that sense. But his introductory book I used for the introduction course at IIT Delhi, where I was teaching. Now, one of the things that happened is I also aspired to come back to IIT Kanpur. But these two people, they came back earlier than me, both in the area of polymers, both chemical engineers. So the head of the department, Professor Kochatkar, said, 68 के 2 हैं और तीसरा नहीं लेना. So मेरा तो पत्ता वही कट गया. So anyway, so I could have been here, but then as luck would have it, I was at IIT Delhi, which was also very nice. We started the Department of Center of Polymer Science and so on. One of the things which several people may not know, Santosh used to write articles in newspapers under an assumed name. I think it was 2007-8 time frame. I was trying to get him to come and spend a sabbatical at IIT Bombay for some time. And then finally, when he sort of gave an indication that he's willing to come, in fact, that was one of the very few early cases that we had him to be selected, because he must be selected. He was selected by the Board of Governors of IIT. When we put up his CV, the board asked, I said, will this person come? You are putting his biodata. I said, yes, he will come. And he came. Of course, very fortunate that he came, and we were very fortunate that there was a chair, Professor Larsen and Toubro chair. He was on the chair on that, and spent, as Devang pointed out, very productive 2 years, changed the mindset of a lot of younger faculty members, especially as he again pointed out that the number of publications can be increased if you take MTech thesis a little bit more seriously and convert them into papers and so on. In addition to that, he also interacted with a lot of young faculty, not necessarily in the chemical engineering department, but his neighbors and so on, got them excited about sending their nominations for membership to academies and fellowship to academies and the like. So it was not just academic in the department, but also an influence on the campus as such. But he wanted to come back because his family is here, his daughter is here and so on. So otherwise we would love to have had him continue at IIT Bombay. One of the things he and I collaborated on was the establishment of the C.V. Seshadri Chair. This started on the day I got the Distinguished Alumnus Award here in this hall itself. And we decided we'll just do it, and we started our first contribution to it. And I think, if I'm not wrong, it was the fastest collection of 44 odd lakhs. 40 lakhs were required, but we had 44 or 45 lakhs to establish the C.V. Seshadri chair and we wanted only contributory, so that the larger number of people who would contribute to it. The major contributor, of course, was Mr. Murugappan, who was associated with C.V. Seshadri at the C.V. Chettiar Murugappan Center. Later on, we now know that Ashutosh Sharma, a very deserving person to be on the chair of one of our mentors and professors. And IIT Bombay, we also established a lecture in the memory of C.V. Seshadri, major funding coming from the Godrej family. So it just shows that not only in academics, but he was interested in also doing other things. As Devang also mentioned, that he also spearheaded the setting up the Karthik Khiller chair. So it's a lot of good things he brings in focus. So again, as a formal part, I will just read out. Professor Santosh Gupta obtained his B.Tech from IIT Kanpur in '68. He was awarded the President's Gold Medal for the best graduating student. He obtained his Master's and Doctorate from University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and under Professor Bill Forsman. After a one-year postdoc, he returned back to India in 1973, and again, along with Anil, he was promoted to professor in 1980. He served as the head of the Department of Chemical Engineering from 1987 to 89. Santosh's current research interests include polymer reaction engineering, multi-object optimization using generic algorithms, simulated annealing, and experimental online optimal control of polymerization systems. He has made significant contributions in the field of step growth polymerization reaction engineering and optimization of polymerization and chemical engineering systems. Professor Gupta is the recipient of several awards and honors. In 1987, he received the Hardelia Award of the Indian Institute of Chemical Engineers for excellence in basic research. He was elected Fellow of the Indian National Academy of Sciences, Fellow of the National Academy of Engineering, and the Fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences. So NASI, Indian Academy of Sciences, INA, and INA. He was a Larsen and Toubro Chair Professor at IIT Bombay from 2009 to 2011. He's currently a member of the editorial boards of International Journal of Chemical Engineering, Chemical Reaction Engineering, and Journal of Polymer Engineering in UK. He has co-authored or authored 6 textbooks and 2 edited books. He has again published about 200 papers in peer-reviewed journals. He has supervised 46 BS theses, 69 MTech theses, and 10 PhDs. So as you see, the two of them have similar number of PhDs, similar number of books, similar number of papers. An enormous contribution made by Santosh Gupta and Anil Kumar to the Department of Chemical Engineering at IIT Kanpur. Professor Santosh Gupta, please give me a big applause. So I may have taken a little longer than I expected, but then there was so many things to say. One could go on for an hour. I would now request some colleagues and some students and some friends to say a few words. Be brief, to the point if possible. I had some pictures which I will just flash of Santosh when I was in IIT Bombay, and then we'll start this. Okay, these are just Santosh giving lectures in IIT Bombay. I couldn't locate all the IIT Kanpur pictures, and I couldn't locate any pictures for Anil at short notice. But he was very involved in Polymer Processing Society, and this was held in Goa. We had a great time there. And he's giving a talk here, and then with some friends, just to flash a few photographs. All right, with this we move on to the next. We have the Dean Faculty Affairs of IIT Kanpur, Professor V. Chandrasekhar, to say a few words.
Professor Ashok Mishra, Professor Anil Kumar, Mr. Anil Kumar, Prof. Santosh Gupta, Dr. Atmiyata, distinguished visitors to this conference, faculty colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. So, firstly, of course, this event is not really to bid farewell or goodbye to these two colleagues of ours, but it's a matter of, it's actually a celebration of their long and distinguished careers, as Prof. Ashok Mishra has just pointed out. The two glorious careers that have spanned for over 40 years. And I join in Dr. Ashok Mishra in actually celebrating these careers. So as already mentioned, both of these colleagues joined the Institute as young graduates, as young students in the early 60s. And Santosh, in fact, graduated not only at the top of his class, but also the entire BTech batch, and won the President's Gold Medal. And after their PhD, both of them joined IITK as faculty, and therefore, in their 40 years of career, have contributed to all the aspects of IIT Kanpur's functioning, teaching, research, and administration. And they have made tremendous contributions. And the Institute is tremendously proud of their achievements. And the fact that we have today here such distinguished people amongst us to celebrate their career is itself a tribute in terms of the impact that they have had in this country and the respect that they have among their peers. So I too, on behalf of the Institute and my own personal behalf, wish to felicitate Professors Anil Kumar and Santosh Gupta, and I congratulate them on their single-minded devotion to academics. I know Professor Santosh Gupta a little better, more personally, and I know his, in terms of his devotion to excellence. I think it's a remarkable thing that he keeps always talking about academics and the excellence in academics, and I know that he is a perfect role model, not only in chemical engineering, but for actually the whole institute. I pray for their health and long life, and I'm quite sure that wherever they go, they will have they will be tremendously productive and also influential in their future careers. So with this, I once again felicitate and congratulate both these colleagues.
I'll now request Professor Anupam Shukla from the IIT Delhi School of Anil.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and a privilege to be here to talk about Professor Anil Kumar and Professor Santosh Gupta. The only difficulty is the speakers before me have already said everything that can be said. So what I will do is I will confine to whatever I picked up during my PhD days from Professor Anil Kumar. And probably the most remarkable thing that I found was his excitement and enthusiasm. So every day in the lab he would come and he will be excited about anything and everything that we were doing. Of course, there was not much that we were doing. But he will always find it very exciting. You know, when I speak about myself, usually in our life, what happens is you get excited when you get an idea, and as soon as you try to implement it, it decays exponentially because the results seldom come out as you expect. And then most of the time you are working at decade level of excitement. But there's something I admire, that he was always very excited, even if there's a little development. So there were phases during initial part of our work when nothing was working. And so we are trying to create a support. It's a 3-day procedure, and he will come, okay, this has not worked, try that. So he has ideas, immediately he will give some ideas. And then he will say that, okay, I'll come after 1 hour and see what has happened. And we'll try to explain that it's a 3-day process. And it will take 3 days to get something. He will say, okay. But then we were sure that after lunch he'll come again to see what has happened. So, later on we realized that, if you have to put in hard work, it can only be if you are excited about the work. And most of the time, things that not turn out the way that you plan, but you have to keep working towards it. That's, I think, one of the most important things that I picked up during my stay here. The other thing, of course, was that you can always approach him, discuss everything that you want to discuss with him. And that's true with Professor S.K. Gupta also. Of course, it was a short association. I TA'd a course for him. And even if there was a slip, you know that he is not going to scold you or tell you anything, so you were always comfortable. So all in all, it was a fun working 3.5 years with Professor Anil Kumar. And when I look back at my period, I can only recollect happier memories. Knowing how active they have been, I'm sure that they will continue to remain active for a long time. And I wish them a very healthy and a very happy life ahead. Thank you.
Now I request Professor Pukas Nethi from IIT Guwahati.
Okay, it is certainly great pleasure for me to be here for this function to honor two of my professors, and so I really enjoyed working with my professor Anil Kumar. So after coming here, almost I came as like a stone. So he made me later little bit of statue, and after seeing their commitment to the professions, particularly Professor S.K. Gupta and Anil Kumar, I'm motivated to become a faculty in chemical engineering. So that's why I'm working in IITG. And he looks like an army man, but he's a good-hearted person. First time when I met, he looks like an army man. I don't know what to do all this thing, but he's such a person with golden heart, I can see, and personally he's a very good man, and he helped me from my personal to all this, my PhD life. And so that's all, and I wish them all the best for their future, and with joy they should happy and healthy life. Thank you.
I now request Professor J. Gupta, who was 2 years senior to us in IIT Kanpur, and then he was together with Santosh at the University of Pennsylvania.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Only last night I was warned about it that I may be called upon. So I started to think as to what should I say about two people I have spent a lifetime with. About the academics, a lot has been said and will be in the post-lunch session. Then there are things I can't say publicly. So that restricts the, that limits, puts limits on what I can say. Anyway, it has indeed been a great pleasure working with both of them for almost 4 decades. Take you away from what others have said thus far, and incidentally, I agree with what sentiments have been expressed by everybody before me and everybody who will follow me. Ashok Mishra has summarized a lot in his citations, all those notwithstanding. We actually grew up together here, the families. Our children were born here, they grew up, we played with each other's children, and now we play with each other's grandchildren. Only yesterday I was telling Santosh's granddaughter, who is 8 months old, that I had carried her mother also at that age. The granddaughter was crying like her mother used to. So it has been good that way. Now, coming individually, we got to meet Anil and Renuji after we joined here end of 1972. We were both staying in the guest house. One day I went to their room, knocked at the door, and inside I found Anil doing some version of karate, whatever. And the sound that he created, along with the shock wave, the air moving, it scared me, and I found Renuji standing in a corner, sort of semi-see. Thereafter, I never went during the afternoon. Those days, the State Bank of India was short on lockers, safe deposit lockers. Anil had one. So Santosh and I decided to share that locker. So in small handkerchiefs, our wives had only small amount that time. Mine still has the same. We put them in Anil's locker, in handkerchief, and were pressing the bank to give us, individual ones, and bank said, run along. So one day Anil said, with his volume and weight increasing that needed to go into the locker, Anil said, take it all out, or else everything will merge together. And we did that. We had to. Anil's laugh is contagious, as all of us have felt. And occasionally, if you spend enough time with him, you'll also get his some emotions excited. But it doesn't last too long. That's the saving grace. With that, I'll say, Anil and Renuji, a great life to you post IIT too. Now about Santosh, you can't ask for a better buddy. While Anil and Santosh were both here and I was, as Ashok said, 2 years senior, we didn't know each other much. I didn't wreck the group. I got to know him at University of Pennsylvania, where for the first year he roomed with another fellow, Jagdish Tuli. Santosh, incidentally, after 15 years, 2 days ago, he called me, inquired about you. Then for an year, we roomed together. Santosh is a great cook, if you didn't know. He cooks very well. The regular Indian food and also chaat. We used to hold chaat parties where he'll prepare the food and I'll party. I was always good in the post-party cleanup.
Today's chaat party is in his house.
Oh, it is?
Today's chaat party.
Well, between the two of you. And as Ashok mentioned that, he got early married, I remember those days we were together. He decided to take a charter flight to India. Thereafter, I didn't wish to move too far away, so I took a flat next to Santosh's, so that 4 times a week my dinner was assured. Out of other 3 times, twice it was at another friend's place, and 7th time anybody was free to invite. When I got married, we still stayed next to Santosh's, but on the other side, that was a bigger flat. What else? We both took a course under one Professor Arthur Humphrey in biotechnology related biochemical engineering. It was 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. course. Sit at the back of the class. To keep us alert or awake or whatever, Arthur would sometimes ask, something in between. So he'll look at me and say, Santosh, and ask a question. If I knew the answer, I'll give it. If I didn't know, I'll say, he is Santosh. And over a period of time, Arthur caught up, and then he'll point to the right person. What else? I think that way we have had a good time together, and keeping in view what Ashok said to cut down the time, I won't take any more, and Santosh, a very happy time post IIT. So, thank you.